This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-electric Prologue SUV, there's a lot that could impress you about it. There's the generous passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
New Icy Hot. Nighttime recovery. Relieves pain at nighttime while your body recovers. Icy Hot. You're so back.
This episode is brought to you by PetSmart. Stop by for Yappy Hour with your pet at PetSmart. Save $5 on walk-in grooming services like nail trims, ear cleaning, brushing, and more. No appointment needed every weekday from 2 to 6 p.m. And while you're there, Yappy Hour includes exclusive in-store deals like 25% off pet toys. Visit services.petsmart.com/grooming to learn more.
Great Britain with one stone remaining. Final stone of the 9th end of this Olympic final. And Eve Muirhead, the skip, a bronze medalist in 2014, is going to release this stone down the ice now. And it is going to be an Olympic gold medal for Great Britain in the curling. It is the second medal of the Games. It's all over. The Great Britain team embraced their rivals from Japan, but Great Britain have that Olympic gold in the women's curling final. It's Great Britain who have beaten Japan, and Eve Muirhead punches the air, a broad grin across her face.
Hi, I'm Eve Muirhead, former curler, Olympic gold medalist and now chef de mission. You're listening to Anything But Footy with the latest on the Winter Olympics.
We have 3 Olympic medalists on the podcast in this episode as Team GB name their first 10 athletes for the upcoming Olympic Winter Games in Milano-Cortina in Italy. For Eve Muirhead, who we just heard securing gold in the curling in Beijing in 2022, it's a new role as chef de mission this time around, but she'll be very familiar with the first names who've secured their place on the team. I'm John.
And I'm Michael, and it's been a busy week for the Olympic movement. Kirsty Coventry has been formally installed as the new IOC President, succeeding Thomas Bach. She's the first woman to hold the position, and she beat Sebastian Coe, amongst others, in the election. Plus, John is in his happy place. You'll be able to find him at SW19 for the next fortnight. He'll be knee-deep in strawberries and cream because Wimbledon starts on Monday.
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast covering the Games all the time, not just once, every 4 years. So yes, here I am at Wimbledon. Great to be back. The grass is looking incredibly lush. Actually saw some of the players practicing on it yesterday. Anya Sabalenka being one of them. Boy, does she hit the ball hard. The draw for the first round has just been made as we are recording. So we'll bring you more on that shortly. But first, Team GB have named the first 10 athletes for the Winter Olympics. A little over 200 days away. And they're in the sport of curling. Team GB will have a representation in the women's team event, the men's team event and the mixed team event. Now in Beijing, of course, in 2022, Team GB's men won silver and the women won gold, skipped by Eve Muirhead, who now has the responsibility, as we said, for the entire Team GB delegation. And Michael's been speaking to her about the news.
Must feel very real now that you've got some actual names on the team sheet.
I know, like, it's exciting, and I keep looking back and remembering the day that I officially got selected, and now I think, like, for the curlers being selected, like, what a proud moment, like, it is, to get the official selection, that you have got that ticket for the plane, going to Cortina, to compete at the biggest sporting stage in the world is really exciting, and I bet those guys are absolutely buzzing, because I know I am.
So you've got men's teams, women's teams, and a mixed event as well, and you're naming everybody.
Yep, all 3 disciplines. So they qualified to the World Champs the last 2 seasons. So curling got that quota spot, and British curling have decided that they are going to announce the teams. So yeah, really excited that that's happened.
What can you tell us then about the men's team? Who should we be looking out for? How do you feel they're going to go? Are they going to go one step further?
Well, Bruce Mowat and the boys, current world champs. They've won 4 Grand Slams this season, best ever. Silver medal at the last Olympic Games, and I know they've they know they've got unfinished business. Curling now on the men's side is just like the standard is just through the roof, and it's really who's on form on the day. But I know these boys just pick it up when it comes to the kind of big moments. And Grant Hardy at third, in my eyes, is one of the best curlers in the world. Like at the World Champs just passed, like he was just unbelievable, and they're just a great unit. So yeah, I think look out for some really special things out in Italy.
And the women's team, obviously, the last women's team did all right, didn't they? I mean, they did okay.
Yeah, just by the end they did. Skipped by Sophie Jackson, Rebecca Morrison throwing those last stones, and they've got a couple bronze medals, and they qualified at the World Champs this year, got themselves a quota spot for Team Great Britain and selected as the team. I think we have to say a little bit about Jen Dodds, the third player within that team. She was my second, so she's got the gold medal. She carries a lot of experience. She's going to be out there as part of the mixed team prior to the ladies event, so she can learn a lot from the ice, the environment, and pass that down to the team. And that's really great knowledge to have when it comes to a games. If you can get any insight to how the ice is running and things, it's going to help you perform.
Is there an advantage that those guys know now, quite far in advance, that they are there, they've been named? Can they prepare now in a slightly different way to maybe if it was still up in the air?
To be honest, I think it's probably got its pros and cons, but I think it's got more kind of pros going with it. Like they can now kind of plan their schedule between now and the games, and make sure that they plan the schedule and able to kind of peak when it comes to February. I guess like they're going to have that pressure on their backs that they are the team selected for the Winter Olympics. But then again, I always think that it kind of gives you a little bit of confidence. Days like this at the Athletes Summit in Edinburgh, when they're kind of walking around, you've got the kind of line on your chest. For four of them, it's their first Olympic Games, and it's a really, really special moment. To be honest, I don't know if they know what's ahead of them. It's the biggest sporting stage in the world. Like it's just a competition, but you can't compare it to any other competition because you just can't. It's a very special competition, and it's something that they should be very proud of getting to go. Could be their first. They could have many to go. Could be their last. Who knows? So they've got to make the most of it.
Such a proud tradition in this country, and you were so important to that proud tradition. But everybody loves your sport, and everybody will get behind these athletes.
Well, everyone just loves curling, don't they? At the Olympic Games, everyone's such a great curler from their couch. You should do this, you should do that. Why are they playing that shot? And I just love that. I think it's really cool that people get behind it. It's obviously helped by a lot of the kind of coverage that we get. We're kind of on the TV from day one till the last day. So I think this time around it'll be about 19 days of curling. So yeah, people can kind of get their snacks ready, sit down, and good time change as well. It's only Italy, so only 1 hour time change. Even jump on an hour flight, you're going to be in Cortina. So yeah, huge opportunity, and I think it's just, I just want it to be February already.
2 medals last time, gold and a silver. 3 medal chances. What are we potentially looking at? Can we talk like that yet?
Well, we had obviously the 3 medal chances back in Beijing, and coming away with the 2 medals was fantastic. The only 2 medals of the games, and I think we've got to remember that winter sports is very high risk, isn't it? Yes, we've had nine medals and world champs this season, the most we've ever had. So we're in a really good place, but we can't really look back. I think let's look forward and look at what opportunity we do have. We've got such a kind of great platform to perform on out there, and I guess a lot of that comes down to my job, is making sure that platform's right for those athletes to perform.
Team GB chef de mission Eve Muirhead speaking to me at a brilliant event actually that Team GB put on in Edinburgh with one of their corporate partners. Should we mention them? NatWest. There we go. If you're listening, NatWest, want to sponsor the podcast, we would be willing to have the conversation.
Also, it's really helpful. We set up this company that you're based in the north and I'm based in the south. So I was at SW19 again yesterday, and you jumped on the train and went to Edinburgh. So it kind of works.
Yeah, and it was fantastic because obviously we had the actual named athletes for the curling team, the 10 of them. And there was lots of other sort of Team GB hopefuls there, people hoping to be on the team, plus some that are hoping to return to the Olympic Games, people like the figure skaters, Lewis Gibson and Lila Fear. And what was brilliant as this kind of production line of athletes came and sat down, and we chatted to skeleton athletes, we chatted to figure skaters, we chatted to bobsledders, we chatted to curlers as well. What was fantastic was how much they all love anything but footy. And that's exactly why we started the podcast. And if I ever needed a little reminder about what we do, why we do it, it came yesterday when these guys were saying, so you're going to be covering the European Figure Skating Championships in Sheffield early next year, because that is going to be the big send-off event for the figure skaters, the final big event before they go to the Games. Tickets on sale for that, by the way, right now. They went on sale yesterday, and absolutely learn so much from the athletes I spoke to yesterday as well. And we'll hear a lot more from those guys in the coming weeks and months. And of course, our commitment is that we're going to be following these skeleton athletes, bobsleigh athletes, these figure skaters as we get back into that winter sports season. And you'll be able to hear every week what they are doing in those World Cup events, so that when we do come around to Milano-Cortina and the Olympic Winter Games, Winter Olympic Games, you will know who these people are. You will know what their sport is. You will know what their discipline is. You will know more about them. And it will be a brilliant way to tell their stories.
So can I dig out the jingle then?
You can dig out the jingle for the next winter sports season. Let's just bring you up to date then with those names. So we heard from Eve Muirhead. She's now the chef de mission. So this time around, Rebecca Morrison will lead the women's team. So it's Team Morrison. They will aim to defend the title that Eve Muirhead's Team Muirhead won, the gold medal, of course. She'll be joined by the skip, Sophie Jackson, Sophie Sinclair, Jen Dodds, and the alternate, Faye Henderson. So she's kind of the travelling reserve. She will come in if required, and she does have some very important duties. I spoke extensively to Faye about what the alternate does, and we'll be hearing that shortly. Now, I mentioned Jen Dodds. She was part of the team who won gold in China, and she told me it's great to be officially named today.
I think it's a relief is the first emotion. Obviously, we knew in both disciplines we had a very good season last season, so we knew we had a good chance, but you never want to sort of rely on that. You wait until the official decision, and now it's official. It's just so exciting to get back to the Olympics. Obviously we got to go 4 years ago, and it was a great experience, and can't wait to get back.
Jen will also compete in the mixed doubles with Bruce Moat, and Team Moat won silver in Beijing. You'll remember his cap, of course, had its own social media account as well. And once again, we'll be joined by Grant Hardy, Bobby Lammy, Hammy McMillan and Carl Waddell as alternate. Now, they are reigning world champions and last season won 4 Grand Slam curling titles, the first team to ever do that. And Bruce is now determined to upgrade that silver from Beijing to gold in Milano-Cortina.
Coming off the back of the Olympics, it probably took us 6 months to really kind of bounce back from it. And I was like, the proudest achievement in my career is actually winning that world championship the year after, because it felt like a disappointment coming away from the Olympics, not winning that gold medal, and then to bounce back and win a world championship in Canada against Canada. It's, for our sport, it's pretty special for us.
So there we go. First 10 athletes named for the Winter Games, and we will get these team announcements coming thick and fast during what remains of 2025. And as I understand it, early into 2026 as well. We'll be right across it. And well, good luck. I think for the women's team, it's a very new look team. And obviously they are going to go there as the reigning champions. And I think that we really thought that Eve Muirhead's team had a terrific chance last time. But if you actually remember, they were very close to going out in the round robin stage. They went to curling's equivalent of kind of the sudden death penalty shootout. They were way behind in their semi-final as well, but they performed terrifically in the final to win the gold. I know that Bruce Moat and the team were disappointed to come home from Beijing with only a silver medal. And I think it took them quite some time to get over that. But the form that they are in, or the form that they were in last season, has been absolutely outstanding. They are far and away the best team in the world. Be interesting, obviously, now when they come back after the summer, how they perform this season, which is Olympic season, of course. But yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, as you say, because you want to peak at the right time. You don't want to peak the year before. And let's hope there's more to come, as you say, from Team Moat and Team Morrison.
Now, last year's Olympics was dominated, certainly in week one, by Andy Murray's run in the men's doubles. You should see the WhatsApp messages about that John and I shared with our TalkSport colleagues covering the tennis at Paris 2024. Andy Murray, of course, was in the men's doubles with Dan Evans as he brought the curtain down eventually on his glorious career. And Wimbledon, I think, will seem a bit strange this year without Andy Murray competing. There's been, certainly in my adult life, this thread of Tim Henman into Andy Murray. And I think we're pinning a bit of that now on Emma Raducanu, who we'll speak about a little bit more, but we'll have to wait and see. The draw's been made. John, you're there. What are the highlights?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Andy Murray has said he won't be at Wimbledon this year. He has said he's not going to go unless something changes. Maybe Jack Draper gets to a semi-final, a final. Emma Raducanu, as you say, has a good run in the tournament. That could change, although we know him and Emma Raducanu, not the greatest of friends after the mixed doubles from last year, where Emma pulled out in what would have been Andy Murray's last match at Wimbledon. But yes, the draw has been made for this year's Wimbledon. Let's talk about it. 2025, the Wimbledon draw has been made as we've been recording. And I think some really interesting ties, mainly for the Brits, and I'll talk you through some of them in a moment. But obviously you want to know about the big names. So the world number one and number one seed for Wimbledon is not the defending champion. It is, of course, the world number one, Yannick Sinner. So he, despite losing to Carlos Alcaraz in the French Open final, still is world number one. So he is the number one seed in the men's draw, and he will face fellow Italian Luca Nardi in the first round, who was actually beaten by Billy Harris in qualifying for the Eastbourne this week. So you'll probably see the standard of that match. Carlos Alcaraz, the defending champion, is the second seed. He will play Fabio Fognini, also of Italy, the 38-year-old former world number 9. So again, you'd expect Alcaraz, Queen's champion, at the Andy Murray Arena, of course, at Queen's Club last week. You would expect his grass court season to continue brilliantly. So we'll continue with the men's and come to the women's in a moment. Jack Draper is ranked 4th. He's the 4th seed for Wimbledon. Can he get into a Grand Slam final and win a final? We know he's close, and his ranking shows how far he's come. He will start off against Argentina's Sebastian Baez. Novak Djokovic, remember him? 7-time champion. The last time he won in 2022. Is this the end of Djokovic? We talk about how at Paris we talked about Andy Murray and Dan Evans, but of course he went there to win that gold medal, and he did, and it was one of his highlights of the year. Can he get back to some kind of Grand Slam winning form? He can get to semi-finals still, but can he get to a Grand Slam winning form? It'll be interesting to see. He plays Alex Muller of France, the French number 4. And we've also got Cam Norrie, who qualified automatically for Wimbledon. He will face Agut of Spain, both former semi-finalists. Jacob Fernley, also in the men's top 50 in the world. João Fonseca he takes on. It's the first appearance for the 18-year-old Brazilian who did so well at the Australian Open and French Open this year as well. But the big story from a qualifying point of view from the men is Oliver Tave. Now, wow. We've got a close connection with Oliver. I say close. He lives in St Albans, where you grew up and were born, and I currently live. He's 21-year-old, San Diego University student. He's ranked 719 in the world. He's the British number 33, but he qualified for the Wimbledon Championships through coming through qualifying. He's the first British male to do that since 2017, and he's been drawn against another qualifier. So probably someone that he would have met potentially in the competition. So I think he'll be slightly disappointed. He's playing Leandro Rieda of Switzerland, who's making his first appearance at Wimbledon as well. Is that a bit of an anticlimax? No, because what it could mean is he could win that first round match and move into a second round. And what's very exciting is that we have the coach, former coach of Oliver Tave, who coached him when he was 5, 6, 7 and 8. Very young, at Batchwood in St Albans. And we'll be hearing him on the next episode of Anything But Footy. So Ben Wood will be joining us on that. So that's the men's singles.
A lot of important information there, a lot of names. But I'm thinking about the serious stuff at Wimbledon this year. So obviously we had Henman Hill. That was the name, wasn't it? Then we kind of rechristened it Murray Mounds. What alliteration do we have for Draper? I've come up with a couple. Draper Downs?
That would
Draper
be better.
Dell?
I think Draper Downs would be better. I heard them interviewing him when he got knocked out of Queen's, and he came up with Draper June.
Right.
But then he was like, but it's not Sandy, so that doesn't really work.
No,
I think that Draper Downs sounds good.
Or Dell, Draper Dell.
Yeah, but they are actually, Wimbledon are looking at doing Henman Hill. It's not actually called Henman Hill. It's still called the Hill. That's the official title when you look at the signs, but everyone calls it Henman Hill. But yeah, they're looking to redo that to make it even bigger because people come there from around the world just to sit there. They will never even go into court number 1 or court number 2 or even some of the outside courts or even the centre court, but they'll come there and sit on the hill. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see on that. Just very quickly, you mentioned Dan Evans, of course. He's a wild card. He's got Jay Clark, who's a fellow Brit, in the first round. Okay. So again, Dan Evans is in good form at the moment. He's beaten the world number 13 twice in the last week. Different people. Because the rankings change, but he's in good form coming into Wimbledon. There are I think 23 Brits in total competing in the singles draw
record,
for Wimbledon. Yeah, highest since 1984.
Yeah, so we'll get the hashtag Draper Downs trending. If you could, everyone listening and downloading and following the podcast could get that hashtag trending and where it started. I'd appreciate that. The women's draw. So yes. What are we looking at there?
So Anya Sabalenka, who I mentioned earlier, is the top seed. She's the world number 1. She starts off against Karsten Brandstein of Canada. Coco Gauff, French Open champion, beat Sabalenka. A bit of an ill feeling towards the end. Sabalenka had to issue an apology afterwards for the way that she behaved. Disappointed with the result, obviously, but Coco Gauff is the second seed. She plays Diana Yastremska of Ukraine in her opening match. And then Emma Raducanu, as you mentioned, will play Mingzhu, who is a wild card from Great Britain. So an all-British tie. She's a 17-year-old Welsh youngster, world high of 318, but she's got a wild card. So she faces Emma Raducanu in the first round. So again, not that I'd like to predict tennis results, but could Raducanu get a run together? It's probably not the worst match to start with. However, Katie Bolter has been drawn against the 9th seed. So Paula Badoza, the 27-year-old former Spanish number 2 in the world. But I've looked at what she's been doing in the last few weeks, and she actually pulled out of Berlin Championships this week through illness or injury. So maybe there's an opportunity there for Katie Bolter. And then the other, Harriet Dart's the other Brit in the draw without having to get a wild card, and she will play Dalma Galfi of Hungary. Sonny Cartel, who's not a wild card, she also qualified automatically for the first time. She's in the world's top 50, which is great for her. Sonny Cartel. She will play former French Open champion Yelena Ostapenko in the first round.
Do keep following us on our socials, on Insta, Threads, X, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well, because we will be all over Wimbledon over the next fortnight, and some bonus podcasts coming your way as well.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Now, Kirsty Coventry, we mentioned at the top of the pod, is the new IOC president. She is officially in charge. She took over with an official handover, with a key being given by Thomas Bach. What do you think she's got on her agenda, Michael?
Well, I think she's got a number of big issues. I think, obviously, the situation and the protection of women's sport I think that is going to be a huge decision that is going to come up. I think the Russia situation is also going to be something that she will need to look at very closely, with the Winter Games, of course, coming up, and what we do with Russian athletes. And then linking from that onto the situation which is going on in the Middle East at the moment, and how the IOC are going to apply the rules that they've applied for the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Are they going to apply similar kind of rules to what is happening in the Middle East? So that is very much going to be on her agenda in that massive geopolitical world. I think locally, if you like, I think they will need to look at the size and the scope of the games, because it has expanded quite dramatically under Thomas Bach. And there are now obviously a lot of sports, and there will be more sports again, and team sports and big sports like cricket coming into the games in Los Angeles. Is that necessarily the way forward? I thought a few years ago we were getting to the point where we were going to try and shrink the program slightly, but now it seems that we're going back and we are adding more and more sports. And that then leads into the next situation, which is about finding cities and regions to host the games, the expense of doing that, the facilities that are required to do that, the standard that cities like Paris have put on, mean that I think the hosting of the games, and I think for the summer games, there is still plenty of interest out there. But we know that over the past sort of cycle, the movement has been that we get into the dialogue with host cities, and then there's just an announcement. There's not the beauty parade that London had to go through to win the games in 2012. I wonder whether, when we talk about transparency in the process, we may have to head back to some sort of competition for the host cities. So I think there's the big issues, and there will be little knock-on effects to the big issues as we head towards LA. Will President Trump allow athletes from certain countries to come in? That will be something, a hot potato of a story that we will be talking about over the next few years. And then I think there are, as I said, what I would describe as the local issues, the smaller issues for the movement going forward.
Yeah, so she's the first female leader of the Olympics, the youngest since Coubertin himself. And Coventry thanked her family and talked about her daughters, Ella and Lily, in her speech, which I thought was really interesting. And I know you have daughters, and always talking about how to try and inspire them into sport. And she said that they were her inspiration and why the movement is still relevant, but also why we need to change it. And I think there is that huge focus, and all of the candidates who went up against Kirsty Coventry talked about, how do we get to the youth market? How do we continue to bring the youth of today into the sports, but also watching it as well? And really, can the Olympics, which has been funded for the last 50 years by American broadcasters, is that going to continue on terrestrial television? Is that enough? And do they need to look at other ways of bringing people into it? She said that she was really honoured to walk this journey. She can't wait for anything that lies ahead. So that list that you've given her, Michael, she's ready, she's prepared for that. And she says, I have the best team to support me and our movement over the next 8 years. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I think it'll be interesting to see how much it changes in comparison with Thomas Bach. It changed a lot when he took over from Jacques Rogge, but really interesting with so many different parts that Kirsty Coventry brings to this. Will it change, or actually is it the IOC membership that keeps everything the status quo?
This is Anything But Footy, the Olympic and Paralympic podcast, covering the games all the time, not just once every 4 years. I mentioned you can find us on socials. We update everything there, Insta, Threads, X, Facebook, and on LinkedIn as well. Do watch and listen to what we do. You can read our blogs online at the website, anythingbutfooty.com. The Spotify Olympic music playlist is still there for you too. And I found a new song this week, which we should add to it. There's an Australian guy called John Williamson. Now, he performed, if you'll forgive me the tangent I'm about to go on, in the pre-show for the Sydney 2000 Olympics. Now, I first became aware of him at the Commonwealth Games in 2018 when I was at the swimming, and he's got a big sort of folk anthem in Australia called True Blue. And this is a big sing-along anthem at all Australian sporting events. So I imagine it's going to be a feature of Brisbane 2032. So there is True Blue to add potentially to the playlist, but he also wrote a song called Sydney 2000. Wow. So maybe you need to dig that one out and add it to our add it to our Spotify Olympic music playlist.
It would be slightly ironic that the only Australian artist we put on that Spotify Olympic music playlist is not Kylie Minogue.
I did ask my smart speaker to play the song Sydney 2000. Make your own mind up about it. We'll have regular updates over the next fortnight from Wimbledon, so keep following as we move on to Milan and look ahead to LA.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
We all know that owning a small business means you wear many hats, but sometimes you really need an extra pair of hands. Upwork is how good companies find great and trusted freelance talent. With more than 2 decades of experience, with the simple and ambitious goal of pioneering a better way of working, companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in staffing key projects and initiatives. They access a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web dev, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelancer profiles, and get help drafting a job post or even book a consultation. From there, you connect with freelancers that get you and can easily hire them and take your business to the next level. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com.